Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our third session for Physician Wellness. We're glad that you're here this morning. In Missouri, it is kind of windy and cloudy, and it looks like we've got some rain moving through, so I hope wherever you are, you've got some good weather. Dr. Lingham, I will turn it over to you. We are recording, and sir, I will also make you co-host in just a second as soon as I finish. So thank you, sir. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, friends, for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started today. This is our last of the 3 sessions. Thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully, this will be the best. The first session, we talked about how burnout is becoming more and more of an issue and what percentage of the problem is fixable by our own self-interventions, which we feel is a minority of the challenges, but still we can do a lot with our contribution. Last Saturday, we discussed how fasting and hunger, gratitude type experience might help us. And this is not only for big people trying to lose weight, it's for healthy people who have normal BMI. They can still try these methods to gain more resilience. There are several thousand years of literature in Siddha that says it improves resilience specifically. In the last 100 years, we have so many animal studies saying it improves wellness in animals that can continue to exceed their normal life expectancy by fasting and calorie restriction and things like that. So we covered some of that last Saturday. And today we will try to cover how we can be more deeply aware of physical exercise, or in fact, how we become aware of the body through exercise. I think that's the right way to frame that. And altruism, compassion experience, which we are trying to formally study in high school kids to improve compassion, confidence, and optimism. So I'll go ahead and share some slides if Lisa's system allows me now. Do you see it as full screen? You do? Okay. So I'm going to request our friends to mute yourself so that we can hear what I have to say. But if you have any questions anytime, you can unmute and make this interactive. I'm welcoming that all along. So today's discussion will be about novel mind-body materials for doctors outside of work, how the exercise, awareness, and smile experience and the altruism, compassion experience 70 programs might help us gain more resilience. Disclosures are the highlifejourney.org, which is our free portal for anybody, doctors, patients, children, anybody, to try and improve self-awareness and health. And Seeking Hunger is a small book to help understand why we need to connect deeper and understand hunger as an experience so that we can gain more health through that. So this is where we started a few 100,000 years ago, or maybe a million years ago, and we've continued to evolve significantly. And much of that evolution has been driven by our need for food, protection, and just to survive the harsh natural world. But what it entailed was walking or running, combining at least or around 10 miles with our ancestors, both men and women. So that amount of physical activity actually, I believe, significantly shaped not only our body's evolution, our mind's ability to adapt and grow. Why I show this is if you look at today's world, forget about the history that I'm trying to share here, prehistory. If you look in 2021, the human beings in the natural world cannot outrun a cheetah. We all know that. We cannot be as strong as the elephant. But if you take a marathon in the natural world, in the forest, in the jungles, or in high elevations, if you have to run 20, 30, 40 miles, endurance in the entire animal kingdom, we as humans may still be at the top of the pyramid. So we are competing with zebras and wildebeest and horses for endurance, and we are actually winning half the time. So that is happening even now. So that is the amount of physical power that the human body has even today. So that is what I want to leave you thinking about. Unfortunately, because of the challenges of the busy pace of everyday life, the standard American diet, which is actually the entire world embracing richer fast food that is more convenient and tasty, and the sedentary lifestyle that our life has become. Most of us have moved away from rural areas into the cities. Our jobs are all on the desk and more intellectual than it has been in prior generations. And people are now choosing to be alone just because they don't need big family support. So in this world, I believe we are getting more unhealthy. This is a very nice, simple concept about what is cardiac fitness. If you look at the graph on the top, what I'm showing is cardiac exercise, which is 5-10 minutes of warm up, and then maintaining it about 60-70% of maximal capacity for 20-30 minutes, maybe even longer, and then having a cool off period. This has been around for several decades. But only in the last 10 years or so, we are hearing more and more about this interval training, aerobic training, high intensity training, HIT, AIIT, all these are different names for this type of on and off. When we are on, I'm going to request you to mute yourself unless you are sharing some concept with us, because we are hearing more disturbance. So what we see is if we can push to our maximal limit, all of us will stop within 2 minutes, 4 minutes, but we don't stop completely. We cool off, but we continue some slow walking. And then again, if we can sprint for a few minutes, this we can do with walking, running, cycling. We can do it in the swimming pool. We can do it with weights. We can do it with many types of exercises where we push our body and then rest a little bit, push again. So if we do that 4 times, instead of 60 minutes, in half the time, we can get the equivalent cardiac and systemic musculoskeletal health benefits. So this may be actually more physiological, because when we go to Walmart and have to carry groceries up a flight of stairs, we don't get to warm up or anything. We just get out of the car and carry the groceries. So that sort of thing, in real world, it's more similar to interval training than the traditional cardio training. And once our cardiac patients are comfortable, even after balloon, stent, or bypass surgery, we find there is more and more evidence to support this type of work to improve confidence, resilience, and optimize cardiac rehab. So in physicians, I believe this will give so much more variety and make it more fun. This is another slide showing the same concept. And this shows that resistance training is actually good. Only recently, I've started myself doing weight training. I don't think I'll ever be a big bodybuilder. And but anybody above the age of 40, the evidence says our chances of maintaining muscle strength and bone strength will be better if we do at least 1 or 2 sessions a week for about 20 minutes of weight training. It does not have to be heavy weights. It can be frequent reps of lower weights, but it'll have very good benefit apart from the walking and aerobic activity that we do. And this is another slide showing the same thing. So I just don't want to leave you with theories. So I want to show you that I do this myself. This is all before COVID. After COVID started, I haven't gone back. So these are things. My son was surprised. He was going here for his tennis, but at the Performance Institute that he trained, I go in the mornings and do the same amount of workouts. I'm smiling, but I'm really tired. So this was hard for me. So what I'm leaving you here with is another end of that spectrum, because we do see people doing triathletics and extreme athletics and push the body a lot. So that also may not help the heart health or the overall health. Some amount of exercise is great. It is needed for us to stay healthy, but there is probably a threshold beyond which if we push the body, there may be some more stress on the heart and some small micro damage to the heart or even arrhythmic problems that can happen during the exercise or even after when they are just watching television. So my request to you will be to listen to your body, get 30 minutes, maybe 60 minutes of exercise through most of the days. But if you're pushing yourself for 6 hours, 7 hours of fitness or this or that, it may not make you that much more stronger. If you still enjoy it and you are going to do it, that's a different discussion. But health may be optimal at a specific threshold. The guidelines say 150 minutes, but I believe 300 minutes, 450 minutes in a week is fine if you're playing sports or enjoying some exercise. But beyond that is when I would really think about maybe even slowing down for some of our hyperathletes. What type of exercise to do? The whole world is open to us. Even for our cardiac patients, I show the slide and tell them there are so many sports. You'll be surprised, even in your 50s, 60s, 70s, after a bypass, when you've never participated in sports, you can still take up many things and enjoy it. So I'm not going to go into the details, but most exercises slowly can be built upon through your own exploration. And first, make sure, obviously, that your heart is in good shape, either through a stress test or by basic screening. And then if that is good, then slowly you can explore these things over weeks and months, not suddenly going and trying to win in a sporting event. So these sessions we've been doing now for 5 to 6 years, the Heartful Living Self-Awareness Cardiometabolic Wellness Clinics. And we talked about so many things to our patients. We try to inspire them. We've tried to cover most of that in the last 3 weeks, like a summary of it so that our medical colleagues will understand the concepts that we are encouraging. Cardiac rehab, we know for heart patients, encourages exercise, diet, stress control. But in our Heartful Living, we talk about moving naturally, where in your day, the exercise is built in, where you don't have to cut out food, where you celebrate healthy things. And instead of controlling stress, we are talking about resilience. When we build resilience, the same challenging situation becomes much less of a stress for us. So rehab aims at living 100 years, and through these wellness programs, we really hope to spark that life for the moment, where life becomes that much more engaging and interesting. This is a 50-year-old who had 30 minutes of mid-chest discomfort, went to a local emergency room in Kuwait. There he arrested. Because he was already in the ER, he was shocked and revived. And he had ST elevation in the ECG. And he had a cardiac cath showing critical lesion that at that time, the heart squeeze was reduced at 40%, but he got stented, went through rehab and attended our wellness remotely. And 3 months later, his heart squeeze was back to normal. He had no symptoms and he was on the treadmill doing very well. I'm bringing a story because when he's walking at 5 kilometers on a level pace on the treadmill, at about 30 minutes, his heart rate is going up. That's the blue line. But the red line is the dyspnea scale. In one being just sitting around and listening or talking like we are today, 4 being walking a pet just for a stroll around, 9 being really pushing, 10 being, I can barely breathe. So he would get to that point by about 20, 30, 35 minutes. And when that point reaches, he will have to stop. That would happen 4 times, but on the 5th occasion, this would happen for him. He's an engineer, so he actually drew this graph and sent it to me. His dyspnea just drops off dramatically, although the treadmill is still on and he's still going and he's not taken a break or had some water or anything. He's just continuing. The heart rate is still going higher, but the effort that he perceives on the treadmill just drops off dramatically. In runners, it might be similar to second wind, runner's high, but I believe because he participated in our program in cardiac rehab and he reported this, we call this the flow phenomenon. He's experiencing a level of confidence that is even beyond his logical mind, but he's able to keep going. Then why does he even stop the treadmill? He stops because he has to go to work. He stops after another 15, 20, 30 minutes. He says, oh my gosh, I have to be at work. So suddenly the same exercise that would stop him at 30 minutes has no limiting effect on him on some occasions, not every time he gets on the treadmill. So this Mihai Csikszentmihalyi reported in 1975 after doing extensive research as optimal engagement with the task, free from self-consciousness, and intrinsically enjoyable state. So for tennis players, we talk about ability versus challenge that the opponent gives us. And then if the opponent and our skill matches, then we have an opportunity to enter into the flow experience. If the opponent is too good, if I was to play tennis with a professional, I'll feel very self-conscious and anxious. If I was to play with like my sister who is here and she's never been on the tennis court, I'll sort of get bored within a few minutes because she won't be challenging balls. So that is the thing with the flow. We have to find the type of sport, the type of physical challenge that is that's something we are good at and where we give ourselves enough challenge. It can be done with single person things like bicycling. We can enter into flow. The skill will be knowing to bike well, and the challenge will be the time or distance limit that we set for ourselves and push. So that is the way we can challenge when there is no opponent on the other side of the system. So I'm not going to go too much more into this, but this is what we are actually talking about. So let me finish this slide. Flow motivates people to perform difficult activities at a high level and across longer periods of time. When in flow, a person becomes totally involved in an activity free from their logical limitations. Flow is an intrinsically enjoyable state, and it's extremely positive. So even though I enter flow during tennis once in 10 times, maybe 9 other times, I'm so happily on the tennis court because of that, I would say the taste that one episode of enjoyment that is beyond my own logic that it has left for me. I'm sure after I try a few more times, I enjoy it again. And that brings me back to the tennis court. It's in a way addictive, but it's more than addiction because it is involving my body, involving my mind. And it's actually a type of deep liberation that you can experience. And this has been reported in 1975. And this actually brought about a field called positive psychology, and a lot of work is done through Mihai Csikszentmihalyi himself, who's in California now, and through UPenn, where I see much of the work coming out of. In summary, now these are the 9 dimensions of flow. Challenge and skill should be balanced, actions and awareness, clear goals, unambiguous feedback, full concentration, sense of control, loss of consciousness. That means you're not too worried about what's going on with the immediate results. You're engaged without worries. A perception of the transformation of time itself becomes sort of warped. You feel like, wow, where did that 1 hour go? I was so engaged in this task, and intrinsically rewarding. So there, you don't need any other validation. What I mean by that is I may actually not have success on the tennis court. I may lose a tennis match, but still I will come home so elated and happy. That is what this flow means. But typically when I'm in flow, there's few minutes or few points I get winning. So it actually ends up helping us succeed. But this is independent of even that success specific to that effort. So now we bring that to you. This is the flow scale that we have developed here in the last few years. So I'm going to read this fast, and I'm going to have you answer all these 5 questions in a scale of 1 to 5. So 1 would be disagree, 2 would be strongly disagree is 1, disagree is 2, neutral is 3, 4 would be agree, and 5 would be strongly agree. So this BFIT scale is BEFIT. What it is flow is defined as a positive experiential state that occurs as one approaches optimal engagement with a particular task. These below statements are relating to the thoughts and feelings you have experienced after such an physical exercise that you completed sometime last week, last month, or it might have been even some months ago. There is no right or wrong answer, so don't worry about what score you're going to get. Think about how you felt during that particular physical activity and choose the answer that best connects with your experience. So in case you don't exercise at all and you have a policy against using your body, you want to use some other thing like playing music or writing your grants or taking care of patients, you're welcome to do it. But if you do have a physical exercise, I urge you to use that physical exercise to score yourself. So in your mind, you can do the scoring, but I would like you to summarize the score. And if you don't mind sharing it with our group, you can put it in the comments section. So we'll open that and see in the next minute. So the first question is, I'm going to read it aloud so you can score it in your mind and calculate the score. Looking back on that particular exercise, I performed beyond my expectations. Beyond my expectations. That's the key thing. So you can score 1 to 5 there. And then the second question is, let me give you a moment to even think about what I discussed so far. So you'll sort of get a grasp. You're thinking about some exercise, something fun that you enjoyed some weeks or months ago. And now we are scoring that particular fun activity. Looking back, I performed beyond my expectations. Things happened effortlessly and I felt sort of weightless. Again, 1 is strongly disagree, 3 is neutral, 5 is strongly agree. So if you got 3 and 3, then your total score is 6 so far. The third thing is it was a fun and rewarding experience I look forward to. Again, I want to try it because it was so fun. Again, scored to 5. And then I lost myself, but I was intuitively aware and totally focused. The sense of self was lost, but I remained able to confidently perform the activity. Again, 1 to 5. And then time sort of stopped. Minutes and hours sort of drifted by without me being able to account for it. Strongly disagree, neutral is 3, 4 will be agree, and 5 will be strongly agree. So I'll give you a minute to calculate your score. And if you feel comfortable, just share it in our group. And next, after a minute or so, we'll continue to go on with our discussions. So again, I have to leave the slides on so you can see it. Somebody already put in a score. So I'm going to put the slides back on so others can also put their score if they feel up to it. This is the score of one of my friends. But I mean, any score you get, you can just share. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you get. For all these 5. Any questions on how we score? 1 is strongly disagree. If you strongly disagree with everything, your total score will still be 5. It won't be 0. If you're neutral about the whole concept, then your score will be 15. If you strongly agree, the maximum in this BFIT score is 25. So 5, 15, 25. For those who have already scored, we'll use this 1 minute to think about that experience, breathe, relax, just kind of connect with that experience that you really enjoyed with your body and you're grateful for. And we'll sit in meditation for a minute. Excellent. So we got a lot of feedback. So I just wanted to quickly go over that. The only challenge is I don't know where to find it. Yeah. So I don't know if I can share the chat in our group. Do you see the chat also? Oh yeah, I'm sure you can see it in your computer. Many people have scored 19, 18, playing golf, swimming score of 18, kayaking 19, 16. So what the score means, I'm going to share with you next. This is a classmate, very good friend of mine. We went through medical school together. And you might have heard her story earlier. She lost her husband through sudden cardiac death about 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. And she has bounced back remarkably well. And she's learned to swim, bike, run. She does triathletic events. She's a microbiologist in Chennai, India. And I've invited her to join us. I don't know if she's here to say hello to us. Maybe she couldn't make it. This was her score, 23. After learning all these things, biking and swimming and all that, when she is competing, this is what she feels, that she loses sense of time and consciousness, and she feels she's having so much fun that she'll keep doing it forever. And she feels she's losing that effort also. She feels so light when she's actually physically pushing her body's limit, and she does again and again beyond her expectations. So this is somebody who's, her score probably was around 18 something when she started out, and then it's continuing to improve. So this is, BFit is not like blood pressure where we want to lower it, we want to improve it on the other side. And improving it is very, very simple. By just looking at the score, it will keep improving when you engage wholeheartedly with whatever exercise you choose, whatever sport you choose. This is a 95-year-old patient of mine. She's such an amazing friend I've now known for 10 years. She comes and shares her story to inspire others. She goes to swim in the ocean by Greece. Every year she's swimming there. So she's been inviting me to come and swim there. But I haven't done that yet. So I invite people to participate in activities where they lose track of time. For me, I love tennis, so that's where I can go spend 2 hours in a day. Physically, I'll be totally exhausted, but I completely lose sense of worries and even time. This is a tennis. Before I go off from that slide, I don't know if you can see me. Is my video showing? You can see me, I hope, in the camera. Inside my work, today I'm still in my office, the same shirt I'm wearing. What I'm trying to say is, after this work, I hope to go out and play some tennis if the weather permits. So we can continue to be younger or feel that fun and take ownership for it. It's not a chore, another thing in our day-to-day check-off list. So obviously, we have to find the time and the energy, but it mostly has to come from our own enthusiasm. So if you find a thing that works for you, your family or your friends, and you can keep engaging, it doesn't have to be tennis. It can be so many 100 other things, but please find it as fun for you. That's what I want to share. This is a cardiology fellow I've known for 10 years, even as a college student here in town. And this is his score. He scores 14 when he does his 5K runs. He does this running very often. But the interesting thing is, when he plays tennis, not every time, but when he really plays well, he scores dramatically higher. So he's able to look back 10 years and say, on the day that I entered flow on my tennis match, this is my score. So again, he's a tennis player. That's why he's connecting through tennis. This is a university professor. After a coronary event, his score was 14. For him, exercise was not fun when he scored like that, but then slowly he engaged in more and more fitness training, exercise, and he went on to participate in 5K runs, win medals, and he would bring that back to our Heartful Living program. So this is his journey, not over minutes, but over a span of months or years. Continuously, he is in a state of flow. That's why he's going and engaging with high school and college students in physical exercise. And now his score is 18. From 14, it's gone up. So he's engaging more and more of himself in the exercise. So participate in activities that make you lose track of time. So we talked about flow, and in 1975, when Mihai Csikszentmihalyi came up with flow phenomenon, the worst thing possible was just sitting around watching something mindlessly on the television or thinking of chores that we don't like at home. But now we can go even negative flow, anti-flow, by spending unnecessary time on social media and watching the over dramatized news. So we encourage our friends, patients, everybody to connect with the hunger and gratitude that we talked about last time. Today we talked about how through any exercise, by being aware how we are exercising and trying to exercise at 50% weight. Whatever exercise you're doing, think you're only half your weight. Your body will respond in a more natural and intuitive way if you suggest that your weight is lesser. Self-talk we tried last time. 5-10 minutes of just sitting silently is excellent. And then altruism, compassion experience. How that works is like this. Altruism is volunteering our time, our expertise for a few minutes, appreciating deliberately with gestures or somebody's service. And then we can give gifts to people without them knowing who gave it to them. And then encourage, enable people, show empathy and concern. Simple things like Clean Up Colombia comes around frequently. And then we can cook for people without food. There are 1,000 things we can do. In our VA, where we do the Heartful Living program for the last so many years, people with disabilities who attend our course, they then come back to the same VA, put on a red jacket, which says, I'm a volunteer, how can I help? And they feel doing that within a few weeks gives them so much more meaning in life. So I'm not saying anything that is theoretical. I'm just saying how it practically has helped so many people. For doctors, where does this come from? We don't even have to go out and volunteer. There are so many things we can do, but the bottom line is dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphin. All these are our friends, and we can get it from Ikigai. Ikigai means the reason to wake up enthusiastically in the morning. And for doctors, if you see, we are good at it because these are 4 pillars of Ikigai. We have to be good at it because we spent so many decades training to be a doctor. We typically enjoy helping patients or doing the research work that we are doing. And definitely the world needs our services and we get paid for it. So we fulfill all those things. These are the 4 pillars of finding meaning and Ikigai in life. So I believe for doctors, it just happens to be there. And so most of us, whatever profession we are in, we can still find it. I just request you to connect at a deeper level to do that. So this, I'm sure you've seen. It's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Start with without food and water, we cannot talk about any higher philosophy. Then comes protection from the natural elements. And then once that is established, then we connect with others and relationships and family and social circumstances. Then if all that is fulfilled, then we can move on to recognition and power in life. People who achieved enough of that for long enough period, then they may just do it because they want to reach their maximal potential. They're intrinsically driven at this point. And then Maslow did not talk much about transcendence in his actual publications, but towards the end of his life, he appears to have discussed more about people who go completely out of their way withstand suffering for themselves to help others. So they change their life purpose to a higher cause or higher ideal, and he cannot find anything in his system, so he just calls it self-transcendence. We use self-inquiry, and I believe in our 3 sessions, we've been aiming at all these at the same time. I'm going to tell you how. But for me to tell you how, I want you to take the 2 grapes that you have at hand. I'm going to stop screen share. Can you see me? I don't see my video here yet, but if you see me, I'm happy. I got my grapes here. So I hope you also have a couple of grapes, but don't eat it yet. Take the first grape in your hand. For those who don't have a grape, take a glass of water, but don't drink it yet. What I want you to imagine is we're going to take 1 minute to have this grape. So we are really going to spend a whole minute on this one grape. So the first 20, my clue to you is first 20 seconds at least, play it on that side, this side, under your tongue. Just let it roll in your mouth. And for those who are drinking water, I'd like you to imagine that for the last 4 days, you've been stranded in the middle of the Sahara Desert. No water, no food. You've been going towards the oasis that didn't come. Finally, you're thirsty, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're just about to give up, and somebody comes to you with that glass of water that's in your hand. So that glass of water is not just some casual water. You worked 4 days for it. You're so parched, thirsty, and ready to have it. Shall we start? So first 20 seconds at least, play with the grape in your mouth. Don't drink it. I mean, don't eat it yet. And then when you bite, that first bite is going to be very different from any other grape you've tasted, because this grape I bring to you. Okay? Let's go ahead and start. But for a whole minute, I want you to chew it, celebrate that grape. And if you're drinking water, celebrate that also. We'll start. I'm done with that one grape. I've got a whole bunch of grapes. If we have to have this much grapes, that much mindfully, it'll take my whole day just to go through these grapes. I can't go back to seeing patients. So what I'm trying to invite you to explore is, does anyone want to first unmute yourself and tell us if you like the grape experience or the water experience? Or it felt like just any other grape you already had in the past? Anyone unmuting yourself?
I think the art of savoring whatever it is that you are doing, whether it's eating a grape or enjoying a delicious dessert at the end of a savory meal, or your one glass of wine that you drink in the evening, or the first cup of coffee, or the first time you look out the window in the morning. I think the savoring gives it a quality that calms you down, that focuses on the beauty of whatever it is that you are doing.
You put it so beautifully, Liz. So that is what we were aiming at. And for that, our life has become so busy. We are trying to go from one thing to another. Many of my patients say, Doc, I'm just driving my car to work. At that time, I have to gulp something in to get some energy in me. I don't sit down and have food. So people have become that much more busier these days. But if we don't find the time for us, then the stress levels will continue to build up, and burnout may become more of a challenge for us to cope with. So that is why we spent a minute on that one grape. And I'm not asking you every day to spend that much time, but at least 20 minutes per meal. And we don't even need to have 3 meals. Many times you will find you're healthy if you have only 2 meals, but if you're having 3, that's okay. But what I'm requesting is, don't snack in between when you're watching television. Let hunger develop and stay with you for 1 hour, 2 hours. And then whatever good food you're going to eat, you're going to be more mindful. If you decide to 20 minutes, you cannot get out of the dining table. You have to sit there. And if you have to eat with family, that's when that real experience kicks in. That's when food becomes that much of a nourishment, and there is no dieting anymore. Then the celebration starts with that 1 minute grape. The second grape, you may ask why I asked you to bring. Some people in my earlier sessions, they put the grape in before I finished the talk about it. So that second grape was to experience it. But now those are extra grapes. You're welcome to have them. But again, you're not going to be listening to me. So there's a lot of distractions that keep coming through. We have too many things to do. But my request is, connect and celebrate, and don't take things for granted. Every grape is actually a different one. It is not the older one. So every experience is new. So my invitation to you is to be in the moment, to be there for the grape or for that morning sunrise or whatever experience that opens up. And we can be that way. I'll share some more slides unless anyone has any other comments. I don't think I have too many more slides. Do you see the slide here right now? You see the slide? So the same thing that we discussed in 3 weeks in Maslow's hierarchy, the world recognizes as acceptable. Human beings cannot talk about all these higher things unless the basic needs are fulfilled. But what I am requesting through the self-inquiry program is for you to connect first with gratitude through smiling 20 times an hour. That is the basis. That will allow you to find enough strength to be hunger, the hunger gratitude, fasting a little bit every night, once a week, going all 24 hours if you can without food. All that is possible only out of gratitude for life. The program is aiming at actually emptying the liver of the excess fat burden that is in there. The third thing is building trust through connecting with that inner heart or the core of consciousness. So that is the center of this entire self-inquiry, and that allows us to enter into flow. This flow, many physicians in our group today will recognize that they enter it when they write a grant, when they are seeing patients. It can be when we are cooking or doing chores at home. It does not have to be through tennis or writing music like Mihai Csikszentmihalyi described in 1975. But what I request people is to engage your body with it. If it's something intellectual at the desk, we are losing the potential to help our physical health, and we still need our body to survive, to be healthy. So my invitation as a cardiologist and as a wellness person is for you to engage your body and find what your body's potential is through entering into flow. And that is a lifelong journey. And the next thing is this self-talk, silence, and altruism, compassion that we talked about. So through altruistic efforts, 1 minute for 70 days, we sincerely believe, and we've written grant, we haven't been funded yet, that it will improve compassion because we are giving the experience of altruism. And that is their own experience. We are not telling them what to do. So kids, we hope they will go and do it on their own time, out of their own free will, and find that that gives them more meaning in life. So that's why we've decided for adults and for doctors, we can find it through our work. We just have to connect and find the ikigai. In our day-to-day work, we have trained so many years, and in our profession, we can connect directly with our patients. That extra one phone call, spending that extra 2 minutes with the patient, connecting eye to eye and going that extra mile. And another thing I suggest is, if you have a week off, half a day, come into work and do the same work that you do in the same office. You will find that half-day work is so much more fun than the other 300 days that you came to office. The reason is when you are not forced to come, you are coming out of your own self-interest. So that will actually be so much more of a liberation. I do this periodically because a lot of times we apply for vacation and then we can't go in the COVID or some other circumstances. So I just come in and help out at work, and I find that's so enjoyable. And so many of our residents and fellows have tried it already. And then all this together is self-inquiry. But if you want to sit down and meditate, that is fine too. But connecting with hunger is self-inquiry. Making yourself 50% weight when you're running is self-inquiry. Taking a half a minute for that grape or one whole minute for that grape is going to be self-inquiry. But then again, before the grape, the important thing is connecting with that hunger for a few hours before, so that all of this becomes built into each other, and you can build all of this into your day without too much effort. That's what I want to leave you with. Yeah, that's the end of my slides. We still have 10 minutes. That's good.
There's a request to go back to one of the slides on the chat.
Sure. I don't have access to the discussions. So if Lisa or somebody can read,
Yes, just
what
a
slide
moment.
they want us to access?
Yes, there was a question. If you could go back to the slide with all of the neurotransmitters started with dopamine.
Oh, yeah. This slide. You see it?
Yes, that's it, sir. Thank you.
What was the question?
Could you explain that again?
Sure. So what we are saying is we are assuming where we are. lonely, depressed, then having serotonin is going to help us. If we lack social relationships, increasing oxytocin is going to help us. If we don't have too much enthusiasm, we procrastinate, having dopamine is going to help us. And how are we going to get these chemicals up? For this, if we set goals, which are simple, small goals, and work towards it. And then if we connect with people, volunteering or developing a relationship, connecting with grandchildren, wherever it is, making an effort, that is going to increase oxytocin. Then gratitude, writing small notes of thank you, the altruism, compassion experience, going out in the sun, spending time outdoors, that's going to increase serotonin. And then when there is much mental stress and anxiety, we need more endorphins, which we can get through dark chocolate, spicy food, but mostly through exercise. Exercise is the key thing that will increase endorphins. So that is what we believe causes the second wind and things like that. So bottom line, through these simple measures, we can directly improve neurotransmitters that are giving us meaning, and sustaining life, and giving us energy. Okay. And this gives us ikigai. Volunteering does this. Smiling and fasting increases serotonin. And we play sports or exercise, we can increase endorphins. Okay. Thanks for bringing me back to that slide. I didn't spend time on it because I really wanted time for people to share their thoughts. I didn't want to be the one talking the whole time.
There's something else in the chat box. Can you please tell us the words that represent SOS, E's, and ACE? So SOS first.
SOS is self-talk and silence. 1 or 2 minutes spent talking aloud in a quiet room where there's nobody else listening to you. So listen to your own thoughts, preferably positive ones to encourage yourself, but it can be any thoughts. Just the act of talking and listening, that is a deep level of observation. So who is doing the talking? Who is doing the listening? So that you'll have to figure out as you do this exercise. But after you do the talk for 1 or 2 minutes, self-talk and observation, then spend 5 minutes in silence. That is SOS. Altruism, compassion experience is this last one. Doing some gesture of kindness. It can be anything for anybody, preferably that somebody should not even know who did this act of kindness for them. So you would have written a good, kind note or given a gesture of blood donation or whatever thing you feel like you can do that particular day. Then you're only left with that feeling of optimism and meaning in life, and that will build compassion. That is altruism, compassion experience, 70 we call it. Ease is exercise, awareness, smile, experience. So when you're exercising, whichever exercise you do, be aware of the physical exertion, that Bogue dyspnea index, and be aware of the weight. Think of yourself as only half your weight, and smile through the exercise. That is, some people say it's challenging, but I believe it's actually going to make your exercise easier if you smile when you're exercising at maximal capacity. Exercise, awareness, smile experience. And hunger, gratitude, we talked about last time. Hunger is fasting for 14 hours overnight without any snacking. That includes the time we are asleep. So if you finish dinner at 6 p.m. and go on until 8 a.m., that's 14 hours already. And if you want to lose weight or if you want to control blood pressure, you can go 16, 18 hours on several nights and your blood pressure will come down. But other than that, once a week, we suggest 24 hours of no food, just water for people who are not diabetic, people on insulin, and people who are not pregnant or breastfeeding. And for people with eating disorders, we don't recommend it. For cirrhosis, we don't recommend. But otherwise, most people can try even up to 24 hours of fasting safely. But slowly you can build up 14, 18, 20, 24 over several weeks. You don't have to suddenly give up food all day long. But that gives you more resilience against cancer and dementia and heart disease, 80% risk reduction. Same thing, I believe, for mental stress and anxiety and depression also. But we haven't proved that yet, but we're hoping to devise methods to look at that more formally in the coming years. So hunger and gratitude. How is this gratitude experience? Just by connecting with people in your family, circumstances, your work, whatever, or just being alive in this COVID world, but connect with that gratitude and don't get out of the bed in the morning until that gratitude warms your heart and you feel, okay, now I can get up and go on with my day. Otherwise, waking up is not the reason to get out of the bed in the morning. The alarm is definitely not the reason to get up. We have to sleep early enough that we wake up and have at least 2 minutes to feel that gratitude before we get up. And through the day, we request people to smile 20 times every waking hour. So that is the basis of that strength to connect with this hunger and to experience life in the moment through exercise and other things.
There are a couple of comments in the chat box. Dr. Hagen, if you can hear me, if you would like to explain the study that we ran in Missouri Medicine, you can unmute yourself. So Dr. Hagen wrote in the chat box, Missouri Medicine, the Journal of MSMA, did a study and published in March of 2014 to document the detrimental effects of extreme endurance exercise, especially after the age of 40. And the study showed that, like with anything, doing all things in moderation, and even the slide that you showed earlier about the 4 highs of a HIIT exercise, over time, it was only about a 30 to 45 minute workout. It doesn't have to be an extremely long workout to reap those benefits.
Yes, sorry, can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, so we ran that in 2014, and there was a great deal of pushback, especially from cardiologists that were marathoners. And subsequently, we have been vindicated. And again, there's probably not a lot of people out there like myself that go out and run marathons at age 60 and run for 3, 4, 5 hours. But I am paying the price for that now with atrial fibrillation on a daily basis and cardiac coronary artery score of 1606. So when I was a young person, when it came to exercise, too much was not enough. And I grew up in that era, and Tom Bassler and some of the people that were cardiologists said, if you run a marathon, you'll never have a heart attack. So subsequently, we've learned, especially after 40, just as you said, moderation.
Excellent. This slide shows the same thing, and this is published in JACC recently. And this looks not only at the time, the distance, frequency, and the METs reached or the speed. So whichever parameter we use, we have to still stay within reasonable limits. So 150 minutes is the minimum needed. I believe easily we can go to 300 or 450 minutes in a week, which is 1.5 hours a day. And that should be fine. But again, thinking that we are helping our health by exercising more or building more muscle or running ultra marathons is not required. And there may be some risk for micro damage to troponin elevation. And like you mentioned, it can be a risk for atrial arrhythmias, which we see more in athletes. But again, it's a balance. When we say that message, then people say, oh, I may just as well sit at home and watch television. But there is so much health benefit to getting at least 150 minutes. Without that, we are really leaving not only our physical health, but I believe sincerely that our mental health also to suffer if we don't get 30 minutes at least of brisk, fun, engaging exercise on a regular basis. Thanks so much, Natasha.
Beth McFarland writes, a tremendous set of talks over the last 3 Saturdays. Thank you so much. We look forward to going back to hear them again. So the 3 recordings will be on the wellness website next week. So you can actually watch the entire repeat performance of the talks, and as well as the 3 sets of slides will also be associated with the videos. So you'll be able to go back and review. And Dr. Chocolingham's email is right there on the wellness website as well. So if you have any questions or further comments to him, that you can follow up with him. So just to let everybody know, we'll be sending out an email blast to all the MSMA members, and Dr. Chocolingham will also be sharing the same link with the MU physicians and your contacts around the world as well.
I thoroughly enjoyed today's session. My request to our group today is because many of you scored yourself on the BFIT scale. We don't have that type of open data yet. So my request is, since you have my email address, now we are in May, give it till the end of the summer. try some fun exercise, try the fast, try everything, and then slowly explore yourself little. And in the next 3 months, at the end of the summer, shoot me an email and tell me what you scored today and what your new score is at the end of the summer. So if you give me both the scores of May and say of September of 2021, and tell me this is the exercise that you're engaging in, we can actually publish that. And the reason I want to do more and more formal work with this is that's not available anywhere else. If you go to psychology and philosophy, it becomes very challenging on a day-to-day basis. This BFIT is very intuitive, and we've developed it with the help of our cardiology fellows and our team. And we feel we can apply it in day-to-day practice, not only for our physicians, but also for our cardiac patients. So that's what I'm hoping. So at the end of the summer, I hope you'll remember today's meeting and that you will email me, Anand, this is my experience. My score is unchanged, or my score went down from 12 to 10. Even that I want to hear for sure. But if it, whatever the score is at the end of the summer, do it for yourself and tell me what you think it is. And I'd love to hear from it so that we can have more people follow these simple things to gain a deeper self-understanding. I believe this BFIT may be one of the simplest but most profound insights into the working of our subconscious.
Thank you so much. We enjoyed today's session very much.
Thanks so much for joining. I still have some more time. If Lisa would allow us, we can have a few more people ask questions or share their thoughts briefly.
I'd like to
Anand, I am Dr.
Sandy, you want to go first? Then I'll have my dad say hi.
All right, I just wanted to say that we experienced through Osher and then through this, and you have revolutionized our eating patterns. We are now doing 2 meals.
My request is for everyone to mute yourself, please. We cannot hear Sandy. Can everyone mute yourself? Thanks so much. Sorry, Sandy, can you talk now?
Yes, yes. You've revolutionized our eating patterns. We're now doing 2 meals a day. We're doing the fasting 14 to 16 hours. We are cutting off food earlier in the evening. We're feeling a lot better, and I have fewer dishes to do. So thank you.
So you have so much more time. Wonderful. Thanks so much. In June, what we have planned is see, Heartful Living so far I've done for 6 years because my basis has been as a cardiologist to help our patients cope better, develop optimism, things like that. But after doing this for 5-6 years, now I'm confident enough to talk about consciousness itself. So in June, we are opening a 4-week series again through Osher. And it's going to be Monday mornings, I think 10:30 to 11, every Monday in June, where we talk about higher consciousness. That's it. We don't talk about health. We don't talk about blood pressure, nothing. We're just going to say the basis of how this program works, what is consciousness, how we can improve it for practical purposes. Thanks so much, Sandy. I look forward to seeing you in Osher for that June series also. Yes, Dad, thanks for joining us from India and inspiring me all my life through your work and your mission. Please share your thoughts with our group.
Dear friends, nice to see and nice to, I am Dr. Chokkalingam, Anand Chokkalingam's father from Chennai. Nice what he has been telling and what you are all listening. Only request is you all should follow what he is telling that. The most important simple thing, if you want to be not needing the help of any cardiologist up to 100 years, be very sure you must be happy all the time. If you are going to be happy, your heart will work minimum for 100 years. So never compromise happiness, never postpone happiness, carry happiness with you. That happiness you will get by means of fasting, by means of whatever thing you may be doing. And to have the happiness, the substrat for your happiness must be self-realization and keeping your mind at peace. If you are going to be at peace, and definitely you'll be happy. Without peace, you cannot be happy. So please remember, the most important thing our ancestors of thousands of years has told us, self-realization is the ultimate thing a person must achieve that. And the chance to choose is given only for human beings, not for the animals. You want to be happy or unhappy, good or bad, anything, and tune up your mind in such a way you be on positive side, at peace of mind as a substrat. With the peace of mind, you ought to be happy. Once you are happy, you will radiate happiness. The moment you are happy, all systems like endorphin, all hormones that will make all organs to function more than 100 years. If everyone follow this one, Dr. Chokkalingam, or universally, all doctors will become jobless. We can close all the hospitals and we can divert our attention, making our society healthy, and whatever thing Anand is telling about life is concentrating how a person can be healthy. I really appreciate Anand. Your journey must continue. Take all your friends and colleagues globally along with you to make our society healthy. Thank you very much, Anand.
So nice you could join. Thanks, Dad. I have one more quick slide to show. This is the BFIT score for most people who score lesser. Exercise is still considered like a chore. But between 14 and 17, people have already found that exercise can be fun and they somehow enjoy it. But once you cross 18, most often, exercise is not something they do. It's part of who they are. So it is so engaging, and they pretty likely engage in a flow level of connection. So this is what we have seen in the last 3-4 years, that we've asked people to score themselves. And I've seen many of my cardiac patients move from 12 to 16, 17, or then from even 17, 18. And then people in the middle range, they can easily move up further. So it just is something that you do on your own for yourself. There's nobody monitoring this, just like fasting. All these are not endpoints that you try to achieve. These are things that you allow your body and your mind to explore with you. And these are simple tools to support you in that self-exploration. Any other few suggestions, questions, comments before we close up?
Well, thank you everyone for joining us this Saturday. Again, I will be sending out the email. You can check our website for the slides and for the videos next week. Thank you, Dr. Chokkalingam, for hosting these 3 Saturdays. It has been very enlightening. I know that we've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
Me too.
Yes.
This was an amazing group of people. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll go back to work, but then, I'm going to tennis also. Wonderful seeing you all. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the summer ahead.
Thank you.
John Hagan, it was the guy who presented yesterday.